Namaste and welcome. It is Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we are speaking about dealing with difficult people in your life. Okay, I'm gonna share with you 5 rules or 5 steps. They're kind of rules, kind of steps that will really help in your dealing with a difficult person in your life, especially with regards to the perspective with which to look at the situation and the lens through which to look at the situation, and actually reduce the amount of suffering that you feel in your life, reduce the amount of anxiety that you feel, and just have clarity when dealing with the situation. It's almost like giving yourself a kind of a formula that, okay, when this kind of situation presents itself, here's what I'm going to do, and I know that this is the right thing to do. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, before we start, for those of you that are new to the channel, I have got a gift for you. So for my coaching clients, I created something really cool called the 11 Yogic Rules for Daily Peace. Okay, it's a cheat sheet. It's something that you can just have on your phone, and these are principles, yogic principles, that if you apply even some of them, you can instantly increase the amount of peace that you feel every single day. So I will link it in the description below, meditatewithrishi.com/cheat sheet. Okay. All right, so let's speak about these 5 aspects of when you are dealing with difficult people. So number one is acceptance. Okay, acceptance of the situation. A lot of our suffering comes from our resistance to the situation, right? It's the same thing. In yoga, it is taught that we suffer either because we are trying to chase something in the future, or run away from something that is in our past or our present, right? So being present means accepting the situation. And the way to look at it is that, really, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. The reason that you are here is really to balance out your previous karmas, good and bad, right? So any kind of situation that is present in our reality is there because it is there to teach us a lesson. This is not in a negative way, but it's there to teach us a lesson and help us move upward toward acting with oneness, toward acting with love, toward acting the very qualities of our soul. Okay, so if we view things in this way, then you can view life like a game that you have to win the tests that are given to you, and the way to win the tests is by following these simple rules of acting like spirit, acting through love, acting through peace, through kindness. In no way is this easy, but that's why it's a test. Okay, so number 1 is acceptance. If you just accept that this is my reality, now let me decide how to actually deal with these things, then that will actually reduce a lot of your suffering. Okay, so number 1 is acceptance. Number 2 is ensuring that you always act with loving kindness, right? So if the whole game is to balance out our karmas, it's important that we are not creating new negative karma, because if we act with anger, or we act with revenge or resentment toward this person, then that becomes a cause for a future negative effect from them, right? You remember in a previous video on how to stop attracting toxic people. I'll link that below as well. I mentioned the game of 2 people slapping each other. So if someone slaps you and you slap them back, they'll slap you back. That's the game, right? So we have to stop playing the game. And the way to stop playing the game is take a step back and say that, okay, I'm only going to act with loving kindness, okay? Now it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. One thing that can help us in doing this is realizing that that person's behavior actually has got nothing to do with you. It's not a personal thing. It's got everything to do with them. So they are operating just from their level of consciousness right now. Whatever states they're experiencing, that's what they're operating from. And our job, our only job, is to not stoop to that level. Our job is to maintain our high state and always act from peace, always act from love. So almost you can see this person that if they're behaving in a toxic way toward you, the only reason is because they are suffering, okay? They're suffering more than you, which is why they act like that, and they don't know any better. Blessed are you, blessed are we, to have the skillfulness to know that if we act with loving kindness, then this is a good solution to the situation. Now, I'm not saying that if you act with loving kindness that they will all of a sudden melt and become very nice to you. No, they are still acting from their level of consciousness, so we can't control their behavior, but we can control our reaction. And this is the test. We need to pass these tests. So it's really important that we maintain our peace, maintain our loving kindness. And it's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. This is why we have to actually, separate ourselves from the situation and go and do practice. Go and actually sit down and physically cultivate thoughts of love toward all beings and toward this person. And it's not easy, but if you build enough momentum, it's possible. I show you exactly how to do that in the loving kindness meditation video. I will link that down in the description as well, okay? So number one is you accept that, okay, this is a situation, there's a test here that I need to pass, and in order to do that, I'm going to do number two, which is maintain my loving kindness, okay? Maintain my peace, maintain my loving kindness. It is difficult, but I'm going to challenge myself. And I may fail, but that's okay. But my goal will be to maintain that, okay? So that's number two. Now, number three is that as much as you have to be kind and loving, it's also important to note that that doesn't mean that you accept harm, okay? That doesn't mean that you accept harm. In yoga, the number one rule is ahimsa, which is non-harming, non-violence. So as much as that is for other people, it's also for ourselves, okay? You do not deserve harm. You do not deserve harm. So the important thing, the rule number three is always in these situations is to be fair but firm, okay? Fair but firm. And this essentially means striking a balance between you not harming them, but also you not accepting harm from them, okay? So acting with loving kindness simply means that you don't retaliate in anger or revenge or anything like that. But it doesn't mean that if somebody is causing you harm, whether mental or physical, that you just stay there and take it. No, that's also not good. That's still causing harm just to yourself, and you are no less important than anybody else, right? So this is where you'll have to essentially, try to draw some boundaries. This is situation specific, so I can't give you a specific answer, but based on your situation, you need to sit down and think that what is the right thing to do in the situation. If you quiet your mind, if you meditate, you ask God, you ask the universe, you ask yourself, whatever you believe, what is the right thing to do in the situation. And if you apply the rule that a negative action is something that either takes you away from oneness or it harms the well-being of somebody else, that's a negative action. So you need to ensure that your action will not be that. You'll not be harming anybody, right? But at the same time, you'll not be accepting any harm. So again, this is situation specific, but in your current situation, what is that action you can take that is not harming somebody else, but at the same time is not harming you either? And this will give you the kind of next logical step in the situation. And you have to present this to that person in a fair but firm way, okay? So not accepting harm and not doing harm, okay? So that's number three. I hope you can see why that's important, because that's another one that we actually, we think that, oh, I'm going to be loving and kind and I'm going to help this person, and then we keep taking suffering because of that, and that's also not good. That's right? Because that person has to learn their lessons as well, right? Your only job is to maintain your peace, but that doesn't mean that you take harm, okay? So I've drilled that a lot for a reason, because we find it hard to do that. So this is encouraging you not to actually take harm yourself, okay? All right, so number 1, acceptance. Number 2, speak with loving kindness. Number 3 is be fair but firm, okay? Number four is to give things time. To give things time. So this is a really quick one, okay? But often when people act in a certain way, it may be an immediate reaction, right? Because their consciousness, their vibration is low, which means they're already in a state of fear, in a state of anger. So anything you say can trigger them. It can trigger them, okay? So what they say when they're triggered may not actually be what they mean. That may just be a fear response, okay? So what you need to do is you need to give things time. And what this means is that maybe you realize that, okay, I'm going to, say something to this person. I'm not going to take their first reaction as, I'm laughing because I do this sometimes. I'm not going to take their first reaction as final, okay? I'm going to let them react how they want. I'm going to still respond with loving kindness. So they see that my intention is pure. My intention is not to harm them. Because ultimately, when someone's scared, they think that you want to harm them, and they respond in that way. But if they see that, you love them, you don't want to harm them, then they're disarmed, their guard goes down, and maybe they'll come back to you with a different response, or your next interaction will go better. So because deep down we're all beings of love, it is very important to expect that from other people, right? Even though they have been very difficult in the past, it's good to accept that they have the potential to change. We all do. I mean, you know my story, right? From where to where. So we all have potential to change, and so do they, right? So give things time. Okay, that's one thing. But again, with that, this is situation specific, right? So if you're in a place where there is a physical danger to you by being around that person, then maybe giving things time there is not the best idea. Maybe you withdraw. You withdraw, right? That should be a priority. Your peace and safety is the number one priority always, okay? But in other situations, maybe someone's just going through a tough time and you feel that, okay, right now they're in this headspace, I'm going to give them time. And that's a great place to actually give somebody time, and that's totally okay, okay? So number 4 is give things time. And number five is all about you, okay? Number 5 is to remember that you deserve peace, okay? You deserve peace. So in the name of loving kindness, in the name of being a good person, do not keep yourself in a situation where you are being harmed. You deserve peace. You deserve peace, okay? This is number 5, and probably the most important one to remember. So I want to end this heavy video on a light note, okay? So I want to tell you a story about the one and only, the Dalai Lama, okay? So this is really cool. Once in one of his talks, somebody asked him the question that if you keep apologizing to someone and they keep rejecting your apology, what should you do? Okay, so this person is saying that, I have someone in my life that I've just been apologizing to. It's been a few years. I've been doing it a lot, like almost every month, and really, really being remorseful. But they just won't accept my apology. So I feel like I've done much more than anyone would do, even in terms of time, like how much time I've given this apology. But they're not accepting it. So what should I do then? What should I do? And the Dalai Lama, he said something in Tibetan, and this was translated by his translator. And the translator said that the Dalai Lama said that tell them to go and screw themselves, okay? and the person in the audience, he didn't believe that the Dalai Lama could say something like that, because he's the Dalai Lama, right? He's the embodiment of peace and love and loving kindness. So he went away from that talk and he looked further into it. He got somebody who knows the language to actually translate what the Dalai Lama said. that this translator said that the Dalai Lama said to tell them to go and screw themselves. And so this person asked his friend, is that right? Is that what he said? And his friend goes that the translator was being lenient. The Dalai Lama said something worse. He said, tell them to go and eat shit. He said, tell them to go and eat shit, right? So ultimately, you can only do so much, right? Your peace, your happiness is important. So there is an element of practicality. You have to be practical because it's not our job to go around fixing everyone. Everyone's on their own journey, right? But just in order to honor the fact that we are spiritual beings, we are here to balance out our karmas. We should be acting with loving kindness and seeing the divinity in all, right? But at the same time, like go about it in a light way, right? You have it from the Dalai Lama himself. So that's it. Okay, so number 1, acceptance. Number 2, maintain your loving kindness. Number 3, be fair but firm. Number 4 is give things time. And number 5 is remember that you deserve peace. You deserve peace. You deserve to feel peaceful and warm and cozy in your heart. You deserve that, okay? So that's it for today. I really hope that this was helpful. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.